Hello.
Hey,
Welcome to t.w.i.c, everybody. I'm Cody. I'll be one of your co-hosts today.
and I'm LeNora. I'll be your other co host today.
So t.w.i.c stands for This Week in Childfree, and we talk about any recent articles, events, or happenings in or talking about the child-free community. If you'd like to submit something you see for a future episode, you can email it to us at childfreemedia@gmail.com and put t.w.i.c, t.w.i.c, in the subject line so it pops out a little bit easier in our email. So before we start, quick shout out to StreamYard for providing this streaming service that lets us enjoy and share episodes such as these. So thank you guys. And ladies, happy International Women's Day, by the way, LeNora.
Thank you. I, I, I'll be honest. I have conflicting feelings about it, and I'll just leave it there. But thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Well, it's out there. So
It is.
with all that being said, this is live, by the way. So we highly encourage audience involvement. Maybe a little slow in the response system today. It's just me and Lenore today, so we don't have anyone behind the scenes working their magic. So we'll try to get to comments as they pop up. And if we don't, sorry. But this is recorded. This will be archived, and it'll be podcast form, video form later. You can always comment down there, and we'll jump in and answer those questions and comments. Yeah, we'll see it. It's easier for us there too. But if you're live, throw it out there and we'll see what happens. So with that being said, we'll just dive into these articles. Again, I haven't really read through them, so I don't know what really any of them say. So I apologize if I'm reading and
I have
don't
my
always go
drink
well.
ready,
Good.
which is tea.
All right.
Earl Grey tea.
So the first one I threw up here, this is kind of a throwaway, but it's from dailymail.com. And it came up in my little feed because it says Jessica Simpson, who is a celebrity,
Jessica Simpson,
you could say.
She's a famous person. Come on.
Well, anyway, if you don't live in America, you might not know. I mean,
she was pretty big
saying.
back.
All right. Well, anyway, she's kissing her husband, Eric Johnson, as he grabs her behind during a child-free weekend getaway. And it came up because it says child-free, which
throwaway.
It's a throwaway, but it's one of those things where, again, we all wish there was a better term for the child-free lifestyle because of reasons like this, where our hashtag and our moniker gets used by people in situations that aren't necessarily truly child-free as we recognize it. So,
right. And to that point, though, you notice that they say child-free weekend, not childless weekend. But when they're talking about choice, they use childless. Mind you, this is the Daily Mail UK. I have been in this publication before, and they have used the term child-free. And I do believe that the journalist who interviewed me, it was for a sterilization piece. We talked about the difference between child-free and childless because she had asked me, and I loved that she asked this question. She said, what do you wish journalists would, is there something out there that is incorrect? Because she wanted to be correct. I said the terms. So I don't know if this was done in the States, would they probably would have used child-free because it's talking about someone who has kids. But if it were talking about someone that didn't have kids, I bet you they would use childless instead.
Well, I mean, either that or childless is just doing better marketing to let people know that it's not as appropriate to use childless in this term. It's not necessarily as appropriate to use child-free in this term either, but they're going to go for whatever the lesser of the evil is, I guess.
But it's easier to swallow because people know that she's got children. So it's okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Next one. We got newsweek.com. This is under family and parenting's heading. So, woman forces pregnant sister to clean up after her son in a new home is praised. So this person must have made a post and everybody's saying good for you. Let's see what happens here. It comes from Reddit, as most of these are. Newsweek must troll Reddit. They seem to get a lot of info from there. Pardon my cough there. So a woman has been supported on Reddit for demanding her pregnant sister, clean up after her son when he made a mess in the bathroom of her new house.
So the sister's son, the pregnant sister's son had to clean up.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, well, okay.
The pregnant sister had to. I think the pregnant sister had to clean up her son's mess.
Oh.
I think
Yeah. Oh,
that's the way I
sorry.
read it.
Sorry. So yeah, it was her son's. The pregnant sister's son made the mess, and the pregnant sister had to clean it up.
Yes, now that we've gotten that cleaned
Okay.
up.
Just checking.
So, 28-year-old original poster explains that she and her husband have no children and have recently bought a house. Her sister, Tess, has an 8-year-old son and is 7 months pregnant. So
Okay.
that's fairly pregnant.
Okay.
On a recent visit to their home, the poster wrote how her nephew peed on the floor and toilet seat instead of the actual toilet, and there was a lot. I come out asking Tess to come in here, and I show her. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, that's it. Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Newsweek. What the
I see
heck?
no issue here. I see no issue here.
Okay. So anyway,
Okay.
I guess I don't know
What's the
how it went because
problem?
Newsweek goes to a whole new article. Let me just keep. Okay.
Oh no,
It
there's.
does. This is weird. Why is it talking about a survey?
I don't know.
Okay. So
Oh
the
no,
poster
it's
explained.
a
Here it
survey about
is.
the clutter. Did you read that
Yeah.
part? It is relevant. The survey is relevant.
Okay. It is. That's not a good transition. Anyway,
No, it isn't.
2021 survey of 2,000 mums. Newsweek. It's an American publication. Why is it MUMS? I said MOMS. Whatever.
Okay.
Completed by the National Watermelon Promotion Board. Wait, what? Showed that
Okay, I think all
2 and 3
credibility is going
parents.
out the window.
2 and 3 parents, 65% would be less stressed if they didn't have to worry about the clutter their kids were creating. Okay. I guess that leads to what we're talking about. So the kids made clutter. I'd say more than
Okay.
clutter. The poster explained that she asked her sister to clean up after her son. Her sister replied that she was too tired and asked the poster to do it. She said that she's pregnant and it's hard to clean up. I asked her what she does at her home, if she even cleans there and she got upset with her and reluctantly cleaned it up. Okay. So that brings us to the poster wrote, they haven't spoken since. The mom's told the sister she's being unfair. That's a little ambiguous. Which sister are they talking about here? I'm guessing the poster. I don't know.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. She called her to say she can't. Okay. She can't believe that that I'd make Tess do that and that I'll never understand pregnancy. She knows I'm child free with a space, but close enough, I guess. I don't understand how tiring it is to be pregnant. I feel like I'm going crazy here. Yeah. So let me see.
So these are comments from people, see, because they've changed terms now to like all that.
Okay. So
can I just say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Make the 8-year-old clean it up. That's look.
And I think that would be the most appropriate response. They're
seriously, because okay, I have 2 nephews. I've got a lot of bathrooms in my townhouse, and every time they've come to stay with me, especially when they were younger, boys pee weird. So, sorry, but AIM is kind of weird. I always told them to clean up after. I always told them to clean up after themselves, and they did. They knew that was a rule in my house. They knew Auntie doesn't have kids, and that is not the reason why I made them clean up. That's just what anyone really should do. They know they had to clean up. I would constantly have to remind them when they were little, but they would still do it. I didn't yell at them. I said, hey, can you go clean the seat? And they would go do it. The only time I didn't was when one got really, really sick, and it was really gross, but I cleaned up because the poor little kid was really sick. But they still know, because they're teenagers now. They know if they make a mess in the bathroom, they have to clean it up.
Yeah. We don't know the dynamics of these sisters. Like maybe she went directly to the pregnant sister because she couldn't discipline the child and ask the child to do it. I don't know. You raise a great point. It's almost like, just like bring your son in here and this is a life lesson.
Like personally, it was something that I instilled when the children were little, when they'd always come over, there was, and you just reinforce it. But I started that when they were young, because also that's their rule at their house where they live. So, so it's totally true, because if maybe this is I don't know, you're right. We don't know what the dynamic is, but really it should be the 8-year-old that's cleaning it up, because you gotta learn cleanliness when you're young. I say that as someone that has always been messy, but because then they have a routine, and I know that again, nephews.
Well, and just learning there are minor consequences to your actions.
Yes. And no
So
one's yelling. I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
not
It's like,
something
hey,
you have to yell at. It's just,
you make a
it's
mess, clean it up. 7 years
yeah,
old, it should be old enough to be able to clean up.
exactly. Eight's a good,
Now
yeah.
dealing with bodily fluids is a little more tricky, but I mean that it's
That's
coming
also
from
why
two
you don't have kids.
child-free people to tell parents how to parent their kids. Anyway,
But it's your
so
okay.
go. No,
I'm like, it's your house. You know
I
what?
know,
Like,
I
I
know.
don't care. Like, if you came over and peed all over the place, I'd make you clean it up. Like, seriously. So it's just it's courtesy and anybody I don't boy girl certain age of understanding it needs to be taught. It's just respectful. That's what
Yeah.
it's respect.
Yeah. So it sounds like some people maybe people are going to discuss this. I don't know. So it says in the comment section, I reckon, it says, I totally support the way in which it says childless, but they mean child free sister handled the situation. It is, after all, I'm just saying child free sister's house, and any guest should be responsible for their own child's behavior and responsible for any damages their child might incur in someone else's home. Another person says the pregnant sister had no right to be upset with her sister. In fact, she should have been upset with her son for his untidy behavior. In this case, the crux of the matter is not about whether one sister is child free or is pregnant and has a child.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just do one more. It says, rather, it is about respecting the home you are visiting and being responsible for your child's behavior in someone else's home. It's all about respect here. I think the pregnant mother needs to apologize to her sister for her unnecessary behavior, as well as that of her son.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to the next. We know we got to talk about a wedding. So again, I don't know if this is one that is just bubbling back up to the surface and being picked up by insider.com, but here it goes.
Okay.
This is in their home and culture section. So it says TikTokers are rushing to support a bride who said she banned kids from her adults only wedding ceremony. So they call it adults only and not child free. Interesting. So
I prefer that, to be honest, because again, when they're talking about describing an event or something, it's
yeah.
always it's so negative when they use child free.
Well, adults only, like it sounds more fun, engaging, like you kind of know what to expect. There's going to be like drinking and dancing or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's adults only. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right. So let's see what happens here. Scroll. Is there anything here? Here we go. A bride has received overwhelming support on TikTok after saying she banned children from her wedding on February 20th. Oh, so we might have covered this one. Ashley, I think we did. Does that name sound familiar?
No, but the article was written in March, so
yeah, but this is from February. But either way,
well, but it happened in February, but they only reported on it now. I'm guessing.
All right, so the on-screen caption visible above reads POV, you have no kids at your wedding. The upload then cuts to a close-up of a wedding invitation, zooming in on a line at the bottom that said it was adults-only ceremony and reception, which is important. Sometimes you have an adults-only ceremony, but the reception, like whatever, bring the family, bring the kids. So yeah, you do need to clarify in those situations, I think anyway. The video showed what appeared to be a screenshot of a question and answer section for the wedding with a response to the query, are kids welcome, ? And the reply read, while we love your kids, our wedding will be adults only, 18 plus, event due to space and budget constraints. Makes sense. Again, you're considering budgets. And some venues don't care if how old the child is, they consider that a chair. So it's like, well, that's a chair that we're going to charge you for, plate for the, whatever. And they hope the guests would be able to take a night off and celebrate with them. So they've got some sounds playing in the background and some colorful language. If you've got video, you read that. Let's see.
They're going to want to go see the video now.
Yeah. The caption of the video reads,
I love you. So
okay.
I love you, but hard pass.
Thank you. Along with a series of hashtags, no kid wedding, hashtag wedding fact.
Okay. So this is someone that received the invitation that's saying that they're not going to go because they're excluding kids.
So this got over 3.8 million views, 1,500 comments. LeNora knows all about that, going viral and dealing with
I
comments and
do.
views. So
I got
more or
5,000
less,
comments.
there you go. So more or less, TikTok got support. Cool. All right. Next story.
Well,
Oh, comment.
oh,
Yeah. Sorry, don't
well,
mean to just blow by that. Dive in.
I mean, can you go back to that tab for a second? Because what was the case? If you can you please scroll down? I
Wait,
wanted to
no problem.
see someone was mad. I was at a wedding where someone commented, I was at a wedding where a child talked loudly during the whole ceremony and the parents did nothing. Again, this is a respect thing. It's people say, oh, parent bashing, blah blah blah. No, it's respect. And yes, kids are kids, but you got to teach them respect at some point. So,
The
and
next
then
comment.
someone commented, as a mom of 3, if I'm invited to a wedding where kids are allowed, I'm not coming. Let's make even more events kid free. Another commented, receiving 1,200 likes. I mean, so
That seems to
why is this a
be.
story? Like,
Well, I mean, that raises a good point because there are times where there are parents that do want. They have to have an excuse to like go
yeah,
out on their own, and
yes,
like yeah, they would probably love to do more hashtag adulting with people, and
hmm
yeah. So
but it okay. So there really is no story here. Cool. Parents are supporting. People are supporting. Of course. Uh,
let's see if we can find anyone trouncing on it. Mm,
Massively disrespectful of the family unit.
okay.
While we could question that applying that a family unit means children involved is also disrespectful for people that don't have kids or want kids.
Well, like the comment just said during the ceremony, if the child is crying, well, that's massively disrespectful as well.
Exactly.
But it's
You know,
all
okay, I'm gonna say this anyway, share this story anyway. So a few months ago, I was at the funeral for a 3-month-old baby, and there was a baby crying throughout most of the service. It was a big funeral. And I was sitting very close to the front, and there was a row of the cousins of the infant, and they were all, in their 20s or so, like they were older. And this baby was like making a lot of noise, and we're watching a slideshow of the baby that had passed. It was a very sensitive moment, and there was one boy, and I felt so bad. There was one, and he had just given a eulogy, and he was looking back like at the parents, like the whole thing for me was just a little,
surreal. It's
yeah,
a
like
little
take your. I'm sorry, this is a very things happen, but it was weird. And also, by the way, the piano player, I don't know, I don't think I said this before, but the piano player played Rockabye Baby before the service started, which I think is incredibly offensive because it's a very violent lullaby and not appropriate for a baby's funeral. Anyway, we can move on. But I'm just saying, there are certain instances where respect and thinking critically, which I can't speak to new parent brain, but you know, uh, I think we gloss over the conversation of respect when it comes to younger children. And this is where parents tend to get up in arms because they're like, well, it's not fair. You have no idea. And it's true. We don't know that experience, but that doesn't mean the conversation of respect should disappear. That's my opinion.
yeah, and respect is in the eye of the beholder as well. Like, who
True.
is it respectful or disrespectful to? It depends if
Mm-hmm.
you are the one that wants to bring a child to a adult only wedding, or if you're the one that's having the adult only wedding.
Right.
All right. This is from I can't meaww.com.
Mew. Okay.
Mew.com. All right. Stop enabling her, in quotes. Internet supports man who would rather buy 5 cars than help his sister. Interesting. There's already a picture of Reddit, so I know where they got this. All right. So and I apologize for the videos, like all these ads popping up. I guess that's one good thing about me going through this is if you don't like the article, you never have to see these or give them the clicks or whatever. A man's revelation that he is rich enough to buy 5 cars, but doesn't want to help out his sister with money causes controversy among netizens. I hate that new term that's come up. The
What?
scenario
Okay.
was discussed on Reddit. Am I the
A-hole.
a-hole subcategory? Got 7,000 upvotes and more than 2,000 comments. So 7,000 upvotes. Does that make something worthy of getting like clickbaity articles? Like
Apparently.
is that the
Let's
threshold?
do more context.
What
Jeez,
is
those are
this?
a lot.
All right.
A lot of pop-ups.
Let's see. AITA for what I said to my sister after she insinuated I should sell a car and give her money. The OP original poster introduces himself by saying, I'm a 48-year-old married but child free by choice. It's something my wife and I agreed on early in our relationship. We both have pretty good jobs and are able to afford many expensive items and activities. I attribute this to our jobs, obviously, but also to the fact that we are child free, which has a space, but that's okay. In this, in our minds, we'll think it's one word, and live in a one-bedroom apartment. So it sounds like they're living below their means,
Okay.
and they can, enjoy life by doing so. So I own a manufacturing plant that was given to me from my father. So I can see where this is about to get dicey. On that property, I store 4 classic cars that I have bought/restored. I've always been a car guy. I plan to buy another car in the next year too. All right. She asked me to help her out since she's embarrassed to ask our parents. Thoughts, LeNora? Just for what
Is
we know.
well, okay. Well, first of all, I balk at the whole entitlement thing. We make our decisions, and if there's a oh, just sorry, I'm just reading
Are you
this.
reading ahead? Okay,
Okay,
I'm just
so
trying to. I'm looking into a crystal ball. So I'm picking up
I,
on when he says that his father gave him that company. I almost wonder if there is something to do with the sister saying, "Well, Dad gave you how you make your money." Like that's should be mine too. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go,
well,
but that's how it sounds like it's going to
okay,
go.
because my first thought was like, no one's entitled to give anybody anything, but you
That's true.
know, um, okay, let's keep
All right.
reading.
So next, the OP went on to describe his sister and her life. Here we go. I have one sister who is younger than me and never made the best decisions in life.
Which
She has
I
a
was
boyfriend.
wondering if that's why the company went to him and not her because
I
of
mean, but
lifestyle
that's not
choices.
going to stop. That's not going to stop her from seeing the whatever
True,
favoritism
true,
and
true.
entitlement that she should receive because of that. Anyway,
Right.
she has a boyfriend who she lives with after getting divorced twice. She's also in her early 40s. She has 2 kids who already seem smarter than their mom. She makes an okay living, but she's the breadwinner. Her boyfriend that lives with the boyfriend that she lives with spends most of his time stoned and playing Xbox. He's always looking for, quote unquote, looking for a new job or blaming, quote unquote, the capitalist system for him not having a job. So okay, he says a lot in his post. So they like to summarize this. So we'll let them do that.
Oh, okay.
Um, so his post continues. Her daughter, who is 10, is a very good singer. I don't have an ear for talent, but to me, she sounds very good. My sister has wanted to enroll her in a lesson with a private coach, but cannot afford it. She's asked me to help her out since she's embarrassed to ask our parents. But never mind. I was going to comment here, but well, let's keep going. She also doesn't speak to the father of her daughter. I declined politely until she made a comment about my money and cars. Just another quote unquote must be nice comment. I'm all too sick of hearing.
Okay. Well, the softy auntie version of LeNora is like, well, just pay for the music lessons for the niece. However, that being said, I've watched my brother go through something like this, not with me as a sister, but with the mother of his children and entitled siblings. I do believe in boundaries, and as much as I'd be like, help the niece out, do something like he would have to physically give the money to the singing teacher to make sure that the money got there. Anything else, I'd be super sketch with. But I also believe that sometimes you have to make those tough choices with family members and set boundaries. And if he feels like no, because it's just going to be another situation that she takes advantage of, then it's got to be a firm no, regardless of what she says. Which sucks because I know like family is everything, and all those cliches about family and helping people out and whatever. But family also cannot respect boundaries, and unfortunately, that can make things worse. And I have seen where people use children as a bait. Like, you have all this
What?
money, all
What?
sorry.
People do that?
I know, it's hard to believe, but they do. And
Yeah.
she could be dangling this and saying it's for that, but really that's not why she needs it. I mean, who knows? I
Could be.
wouldn't, based on this, I wouldn't put it past her. But
I'll take it at face value and say she wants to buy singing lessons for the daughter. But I wanted to see if it mentioned how much it was, but I don't see it mentioning a cost of the
well, music lessons
private
aren't cheap.
tutor. No, I know. I just
No.
wanted to see if he actually had a dollar amount. So just reading back up to his original post, there was an edit. It says this is coming up in a lot of comments. My sister could have had a stake in the business, but she didn't want to work there.
Oh,
I've worked for my dad all my life and learned the business. She never did. She knew she wouldn't be getting anything with it, and she was okay with that. So that
okay.
answered my question from before. So, all right. Second edit is I've given financial support to her before, and I've decided to pay for niece's lessons directly.
Smart
That's
move.
what you just said.
Smart move. Okay.
So should we keep going with this, or you
Okay.
want to get to the comments?
We can go to the next. I think,
Right.
well, comment. Yeah, let's comments. I just don't think that at face value, like, boundaries, especially when money and family, like, boundaries are important.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, this a lot of people had to say about this.
Yeah. So more than 2,000 people left comments on the
Wow.
post. With all
All
of
them in
them.
support,
I don't know
yeah.
if all of them supported the OP, but I mean, there had to be one person at least. Says, one person says, OP, it's not your job to finance someone else's lifestyle. Your sister had made her choices and chooses to live with a leech. Your wife should be on your side and stop enabling your sister. Yeah. So
Why? What did the wife had anything to do with
I
it?
don't know. We
Was
didn't
the
get to
wife?
that. I guess let me go back to his original post and just see. Okay, here we go. My sister
Oh,
called my wife and
ooh.
told her, quote, how mean I was to her. My wife now wants us to give the money, but I don't want to. Sure, we can afford it, but I'm not my sister's welfare. Last bit, I'm sure some of you will make a comment about how I refer to her daughter or my niece. They live in another state and have for the entirety of her life. I don't see my sister or her kids much at all. I don't know her kids too well. Send them birthday cards, Christmas gifts, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So
Okay, I believe like the husband and wife should be a team on this, but again, whatever. I'm glad that he did pay for the niece's lessons directly. That was a smart move, and yeah, it's still at the same time there has to be boundaries with siblings, children, because then they'll be like, oh well, uncle can pay for this, uncle can pay for that, uncle can, all that good stuff, right? So again, people, stop using your children as bait. Thank you very much. It's annoying.
we're leverage. Leverage. All right.
Yes.
So this is on biz.crast.net, and the heading is Beijing is in trouble as China faces a child-free future. Child-free future.
That's like a child-free future.
I mean,
That's going to take a
but
while.
let's see
I'm
how this
sorry.
goes. So this is a business news is what this website's called with a weird .net. So we'll see how this thing turns out. All right. So Nobel Prize winning economist Joseph, not saying that last name, declared nearly a decade ago that 2014 was, end quote, the last year in which the United States would lay claim to being the world's greatest economic power, end quote. This, he claimed, was the beginning of the, quote, Chinese century, end quote. Okay. He was wrong, says this article. America remains the world's largest economy, yet experts continue to predict that China will soon become the preeminent global superpower, now believing that China's GDP will overtake that of the US's in the late 2030s. So just over 10 years or so from now. Waiting to get to this whole thing. So yet the Chinese century may soon have a double meaning, not only the country's stratospheric rise, but also its economic entanglement. a dramatic aging population, the biggest property crash in its history, the burden of zero COVID blunders, and rising geopolitical tensions means China faces a growing crisis. And we're going to get all kinds of like hits on YouTube, and so many warning labels are going to pop up for this. Who knows what's going to happen?
Thanks.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
shutting
again,
down our YouTube channel.
yeah,
All right.
I didn't read any of this. China's population is expected to reach 1.4 billion in the 2024-25, and then almost halve by the end of the century, says a person at the Center for Economics and Business Research somewhere,
Okay.
whatever that is. So that's interesting. Let's see. It says that's
Does
a huge
that mean we'll
change.
have more people from China speaking at the child-free conventions going forward?
I mean, that's the way this article is making it sound, as they should be.
Right.
With China's population aging, its workforce will become under severe strain. This is going down the pronatalist route already. Got to have babies. Declining proportions to the working age is needed to support a growing elderly population. The greater proportion of government spending would also be channeled into the health and social care. Got it. I'm waiting to see this whole the child-free part of this. I guess they're just for clickbait. So declining population and birth. Let's see.
They did state above how many people they need between the ages of 15 and 17 for every 100. Now, this is my eyes have glazed over. I'm not a data person the way you are, but it's still interesting.
Let's go to the end. Usually they wrap it up at the end of it. Okay, so this looks like it's the end. Let's see. China saw a 10% increase in the number of companies abandoning or planning to move their manufacturing and sources outside China. So they saw an increase in people looking to leave China with their manufacturing. Many companies are worried about getting caught on the wrong side of sanctions in the future, especially in the tech sector. Faced with an aging population, a slowing economy, and rapidly exploding property market and increasing escalating geopolitical risks, many China watchers are rethinking their outlook. 10 years ago, this is in quotes, 10 years ago, it seemed inevitable that China would dominate the world economy. That is no longer the case. So again,
because people are starting to think for themselves. I always feel like these articles are trying, like they're always warning us to fix the problem with the same thing that got us to this point. And you know, that's how I always feel about these. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's like you got to just keep doing the same thing we've always been doing because that's supposed to fix the mess that, you know, without looking at the actual problem. And okay.
Yeah, like the key thing that jumped out to me is by the end of the century, China's now booming population will be potentially halved. So instead of it being 1.4 billion, it'll be 700 million roughly. Which that's a huge difference.
It
is. But just like you just said, it's like what China planned for it. Like, you know, it's my limited knowledge on this, and feel free to correct me in the comments. It's a heavily like manufacturing based economy. Like that's where goods are made and shipped out of. So a lot of exporting. So
made in China.
So yeah, you raise a great point. It's like, you know, if we see the problem coming, let's not use the old problem to try to fix the current problem, because that's again, eventually it's just going to fail again. We shouldn't try to prop up economies through population.
No, and again, in all seriousness, especially now where people are speaking out about the desire to not have kids, to bring it back to, you know, the child-free conversation, it's child-free is not a trend. Choosing to not have kids is not a trend. And even if we're talking fertility rates or infertility rates, and, you know, like as more light is shed on that, at some point, humanity, all the systems in place are going to have to look at the realities of less people having children for whatever reason. Right. And I just feel like everyone is so fearful, and all this stuff is coming out like, oh, this is going to happen. You know, is this another reason why you're trying to push people to have kids? But at some point, they are going to have to look that this is a reality. So, okay, now what? And yeah, everything is so reactive, right? And This would go on forever, so let's just continue.
All
I'll
right.
just leave it at that.
We're going to roll into the number 7news.com.au. This is I guess a news station, 7 News. So married and childless, Aussie influencer on why she won't have kids and the backlash she's faced. All right. Let's see what happens here.
Join the club.
You want to give this name a try?
Madeline Georgetta.
We'll go with that. Is 33 years old, and she's been married for more than a year to her partner.
You can handle that name, right?
Sid. Partner
Okay.
Sid. Hey, Sid. Most of her friends are starting to have children, and she adores those kids. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Close out things. Whatever. Sorry, pop-ups and stuff. But when people ask her when she'll have her own, her answer shocks everyone. Why is it so shocking? We're not
Right.
having children, is her quote. We're not having children.
Oh my
Yeah, eventually
God.
we'll get to that stage. Again, that's our only goal, is to eventually make it one day where it's not shocking for someone to
Right.
say
I
that they're
know.
not having kids. That's it.
Where are my glasses?
We'll officially retire the day that happens.
Okay, well, let's wait because I'm really enjoying this
No,
job.
this is so far off from happening, let's be honest. In
We
a
have another
blog
40
post
years. Okay.
that has gone viral, in the Perth Instagram influencer wrote how a lot of people are quote unquote disappointed in her decision not to become a mother. In a
Okay.
video, this must be her, I guess.
Yeah.
So, in quotes, I love children's curiosity, presence, sense of wonder, belief in magic, and enthusiasm for the world. She writes, um, when are you having children? Not in this lifetime is the title of her post. She says, I really do like kids. Still, there are plenty of reasons not to have children. From an editing standpoint, like, should there be like these spaces in here? Should that be one sentence anyway? It just messes with my eyes trying to read it.
Oh, well, the white space is good, but this whole there's so many problems with this entire website. People put way too many ads on their websites. Anyway.
7news.com.au. Get your game
Anyway,
together. I mean, there are a lot of advertisements. So again, you're welcome for not having to click through all these. So like most people, when the COVID pandemic hit, she felt cooped up, unmotivated, and bored. I felt inspired by nothing, anxious by everything. Maybe I should have a child, she thought.
ooh.
That seemed to make a lot of people happy. Okay. I had been leaning
Keyword,
towards,
Cody. Keyword seemed.
yeah,
Seemed.
it seemed, well, it seemed to make a lot of people happy. But she's not saying that seemed to make, that would make me happy. It seemed to make other people happy.
Right.
That's how I read
Right.
that.
Is okay.
You go ahead.
Well, no, this is actually something I'm going to be recording later on this exact thought. Is that when do people decide to have children? Is it when they're really happy or is it when they're bored? And then they start thinking, so it's Band-Aid effect. Anyway, I'll listen to a future episode of LeNora going solo. I will dive into that topic because it's
I think there's a scale. It's you've got happiness, and then somewhere, and it might be interchangeable, is the boredom aspect, wanting to like add in that aspect of parenthood
right,
into
but
their
that's when they
life.
make that
And then there's
decision. And
also
then
what you're saying, almost like the disaster phase, and being like, well, this baby will fix it.
right,
So
right. And so I'm really curious because this, it's people. This seems to be common where people go through this like lull and they're like, well, I got to fill it with something. Okay, let's have a kid. Okay. But then
yeah,
what happens when your life picks up again? Post COVID, post all these things coming
yeah.
back, and then you're raising a human. Anyway, we'll continue with the
All
article.
right. So she says, I had been leaning towards choosing children simply because I did not know what else to do with my life.
Right.
When she had this revelation, she told Sid her firm decision. She definitely for sure does not want children. Okay. This is not to say that all people have children because they're bored. She says only that the thought occurred to me, and I'm not that foolish to believe myself unique. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think this is. Oh, I hate to throw my friends who got married right after high school under the bus and had kids, but it's daunting when you are thinking of your future at a certain point, like when you're younger, especially, and you're like, okay, what do I do? And there's nothing that's screaming at you, and I think this is more females than male. I'm gonna say as a female, um,
Well,
And
some
of
people,
course,
both
always
male
it's
and
always
female.
bombarded with you're gonna have kids anyway, so you might as well start doing it now,
Well, it
right?
both for male, female, men, women. It some people just want to have kids like early. They just
Yeah,
want to. Like there's
and
a
that's
and we
fair.
understand that. Like I
Yeah.
get that. Like hey, that's your thing. I get it.
But if it's based on these kind of moments,
Mhm,
because we all go through lulls in our life where we're like, we may have had everything, and then you're like, okay, now what?
mhm.
But I just don't feel like that is when you that's when people decide to have kids. I don't necessarily agree with that. But whatever.
All
Well,
right.
not whatever. This is why we're here talking about it.
So she and her husband, a school teacher, both love kids, which is why many people don't understand why they have chosen not to start a family. I mean, again, it's like us commenting, like, uh, I, it is strange when people say, well, I'm sure they're going to say, oh, you're great with kids. You should have your own.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't know, that get bingoed all day. So the quote, when are you having a baby, is a recurring theme in her life. When I reply, we're not having children, most people respond with sadness, disappointment, disbelief, you'll change your mind, or a shake of the head that implies I'm making a huge mistake. I wonder what they say to her husband, because I'm going to guess it's different.
Probably.
If I were a gambling person, it's a photo of her and her husband.
Well, and so
Uh,
many people, when people react like that, like no one wants to take the conversation any further.
yeah.
And a lot of people do say, well, this has created so much happiness in my life and all that stuff, and it probably has. And then I always wonder, well, what else did you try?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, but then people go, well, I did try drugs and alcohol and that didn't work. Okay, cool, but that's not what I was referring to. It tends to be a lazy conversation. No one really wants to dive deep into why they had children, not really, until later. But even then, they still say things like
Well,
that.
and it's I guess kind of looking at the maybe the undertones of this is a lot of thought goes into not having kids, and
Mhm.
that's not given any credit by people who a lot of times do have children. Not saying everybody, but a lot of times when you get these types of responses, they don't understand how much thought you've put into that,
Right.
and it's insulting, for lack of a better term, to
Yeah.
your life choice, where they feel like they know how you should be living your life more
Mhm.
than yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so let's kind of scroll through this. I see where this
Wow,
is going.
she's not aggressively child free in the sense that she really does adore children by all this paragraph that we're scrolling past.
Okay, yeah, just scrolling. Okay, okay, backlash. Okay, so her post went viral. Some of the commenters called her a narcissist, selfish, and arrogant, but she hit back. She says, "My choice to be child free is not criticizing parents, but simply I have no desire to be a mother." The end. I mean, not
Right.
not really, but that should be the only thing that should
Mhm.
need to be said. And if that makes me a selfish narcissist, then fine. But it doesn't make you a selfish narcissist. That's
That's correct.
projection and of
E
someone else onto you. Like,
exactly. Because those people saying that probably had kids, so no one would call them a selfish narcissist,
yeah,
which is actually narcissistic and selfish behavior to do that for that reason.
yeah. And
I
so great
okay.
next part here. It says, I'm not here to influence you to be child free, as we often say. It says, but I do hope I influence you to critically examine your life, to ask questions, explore, be curious, and research everything from
Mhm.
your own opinions and beliefs, and make decisions for you, not based on what society or some dumb influencer, her saying, has told you is valuable or acceptable or successful.
Mhm.
So I
I
think we
I
kind of
love that point that she made because
yeah,
again, that really wraps up everything that we do.
yeah.
Is that form your like, first of all, just think about it and then form your own opinions. But
The
again,
reason we sorry, go ahead.
it's that projection.
Mm,
And then that kind of gives you that answer as to why they do the things that they do.
yeah, and the reason that we do this is just to begin or maintain the conversation, to get the questions going, to
Mhm.
hopefully have people more comfortable to have these conversations, to people who are questioning a child-free person of why they won't have kids. You
Yeah.
can kind of see all these different angles that are coming at the community, the individuals. You might understand it a little bit better, but you know, be open in your questioning instead of like jabbing, I guess
Yes,
would be one way to look
exactly.
at it. So, all right, let's move on to the next. Dentistry.co.uk. So dentistry? What? Wait a
Okay.
minute. Uh,
What? That's unusual.
so the heading is choosing to be child free. I was told I wasn't fulfilling my purpose as a female. Why is this on a dentisting website? I have no idea.
All the ads are about
Okay,
oral health.
here we go.
Okay.
Okay, it's celebrating women in dentistry. So this must be for International Women's Day. Maybe, I'm guessing. I don't know, but
Okay. This is
that well, it was on the 6th. This is 2 days ago. Whatever. All right, so
interesting. Wow.
dentistry and child free. Hey, we're crossing all the boundaries here.
Well, okay. I have a dentist that's always super curious about what I'm doing in the child-free space. Just he's fascinated by it. He's got
Yeah,
kids, but he's fascinated by it. So cheers for dentists. I don't know.
yeah. So let's see what this says. So it says choosing to live child free. Do you think it's an important topic that should be discussed? So this is a
Yes.
Q&A, it seems like.
Oh.
So this person says, I think it's a very important topic. There are so many pressures on women, and deciding to have a family is one of these. There are so many conversations about body clocks, medical conditions, fertility, but not enough about the women who choose not to have children just by their own choice. Question: have you always known that you didn't want children? Answer: I think I knew from quite an early age. I love children, love babies. I love seeing the joy they bring to other people, but I've never been able to picture my own. I'm going to zoom in on this and let Lenore do some reading since this is.
I just have to comment. I'm liking
Yeah,
the
go for it.
articles this week. They're actually actually about the child-free topic. So this was a good week for child-free. Okay. The outrageous one. What's the question? What's the most outrageous thing someone has said to you because of this choice? Answer: I've had so many comments said to me over the years, it's hard to pick. Someone once said to me that I would not fulfill my purpose as a female. It was pretty harsh. There is so much more to us than just having families. Yes.
So, as a male, cisgender male, like, so then what is the purpose of the male? To just go around and try to impregnate as many people as possible? Like,
Well,
what is the purpose in this person's idea? It's
you know,
like, and I'm guessing a guy probably said that to her.
exactly. And
Just
actually
throwing that out there.
this brings up something that I read earlier that has nothing to do with being child free, but you're a guy and I'm curious to get your opinion on because okay, so I was reading an article. So a male had written this about women being happier being single, whereas men appear to be happier being partnered or married. And then it explained how like the emotional workload that a woman takes, whether they have kids or not, just in a relationship, and the guy can kind of like ease off on certain things because he's got support in his spouse. Then this is talking about hetero couples. The other thing too is that women tend to have better skills of developing friendships in their own social circle, while this person who wrote the article said that men tend to rely on their significant other to provide the social dynamic more so than them seeking their own support system, right? Emotional support system. So I thought that was really interesting because it kind of bringing it back to this, it's like, well, if the woman feels they don't need to have kids, yeah, then do men feel? I guess my question to you: do men feel like you're just? I mean, you're married though, but do men feel like you're just floating around, going, "I've got no purpose because like I don't need to have kids and no one wants to marry me"? Like, I don't know. Is that a thing?
I mean, it's just the whatever article you read. It just sounds really generalized. Like it's
It
taking the tropes
very
of the man and the woman, the single man, the married man, and like they just whatever work or don't work, play Xbox, and they're lazy and they don't do the
it
dishes, they don't do
yeah,
anything. So, um, I mean, I don't know. When I was single, I felt like I had purpose, but then again, I was also like self-driven to go out and
right.
to network, to meet people. Like
Okay.
that was me. So everyone's different. Some people don't like going out. They don't
Mhm.
like, they wouldn't feel comfortable walking into a room and shaking hands and introducing yourself. Like a lot of
Right.
people don't feel comfortable in that situation. I do, like no problem for
Mhm.
that. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's
I think
generalities. It's tough to speak to generalities, I think.
right. I think this is where we're talking about, maybe one day having an incel panel of those men going their own way, talking about those that aren't I'm going to say self-sustaining. Like they need to be partnered because either they're not taught the skills or that's just not their personality to go out and make your own community instead of relying on a significant other to do everything for you. It's and then again, this comes like the whole population thing. I mean, it's just the whole humanity's just gotten out of control because now we're I think people in general are feeling dazed and confused and lost and have no sense of purpose as it is. So we need to bring more apparently need to bring more kids into this world to give us purpose so then they can feel lost and dazed and confused. And then
the cycle
right?
continues.
Like it's exhausting. Let's figure our own shit out, live life, and just well, let's get antinatalist. I'm not an antinatalist. We'll just move on to the next
You
question.
keep saying that.
Part-time antinatalist. Okay, so the next question, what would you say to someone who feels pressured into having children when they do not believe it is for them? Answer. I would say don't be afraid of speaking out. Everyone deserves to be happy, and you have to put your happiness first, no matter what people say. People are happy with children. People are also happy without them. It really is that simple. I mean, speaking out about not wanting to have kids has changed my life, and it's made like my life was fine before, but it's gotten infinitely better because of all the cool things I get to do now, because I started talking about not wanting to have kids. And this is why we created Childfree Media, so people feel safe in speaking out
and can find stories and articles like this.
Yeah.
But I guess to their question, like, what would you say to someone who feels pressured in having children? I mean, it depends how and where that pressure is coming from. It's a different scenario if it's your parents pressuring you, your spouse pressuring you, your plethora of friends pressuring you. It's different pressure points. So, but I do agree with it. Yeah, don't be afraid to. I mean, just don't be afraid to speak out if you feel like children aren't for you. Even if it's just the timing, like you feel like right now is not a good time for, imaginary you person that we're speaking of to not have a kid, then just tell people that, say, yes, it's not the right time. And of course they'll be like, oh, it's never the right time, blah, 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 bingo, here we go. But I think if you're just firm in your answer and you just smile and nod, like, I mean, I don't know what people can.
Yeah, that and staying consistent with it while it feels true, because after a while, and this is speaking from personal experience, after a while, people start to get it. Anyone that's followed me on Facebook for the last 5 years finally gets it.
Yeah.
That, oh, I'm not having kids. Mind you, I've done the extreme thing of really, building a whatever around that conversation, but I've always hit home with that message, like, it's an option, and that's not an option that I'm gonna take, and people finally get it. But yeah, like, I mean, parents, that's always the biggest one I think we hear from people who are struggling the most is, how do I tell my parents? How do I tell? To the point where people get voluntarily sterilized and don't tell their parents that they're voluntarily, they're just gonna like ride it out until they're 60, and one day say, oh, by the way.
Yeah. Or and there are also the stories as well where it's like the parents say, if you don't give me a grandchild, then you're written out of the will, or whatever.
I think
there might be.
I can't wait till we get to more of those topics and we really talk to people who've had that experience and highlight that shit actually happens. I think, and this is another, getting another tirade, but I mean, that's part of the other reason of having these conversations is what is highlighting the backlash that does happen, because so many people do think that it's not an issue because they're either child free and having no problem, or they're parents and they think everyone just has a free choice, but nobody really knows what child free people really experience until we talk about it. And for some, it's not a pretty experience. So, it's just good to speak up. That's really the only thing we can do to start and see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, shout out to dentistry.co.uk for an interesting and awesome article. Thanks for repping the child-free lifestyle there.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is South China Morning Post, scmp.com. So in quotations, just eat, drink, and have fun, end quotation. Childless couple in China retiring in their prime to enjoy life restart the debate on, quote, lying flat culture. So the lying flat culture. All right.
Okay.
Have you heard of the lying flat culture?
I have not. No.
Oh, we're going to get into it right here. I did see the first sentence of this one earlier. So I wondered if I had to explain what lying flat was, but they kind of do. So a couple in China who have retired in the prime to join the lying flat movement have renewed debate about the controversial culture called Tangping in Chinese, where people abandon their career ambitions and do the bare minimum to get by. That's called lying flat. So yeah, you basically, if you need money, you pick up like a side hustle job, delivery job, whatever. You make enough money for that week or that month. If you hit it, you're done for the month. Like you just stop. You're good, and you just
Cool.
that's what you do. But I saw a video on this lying flat a while back, and in a lot of cases, it's almost forced on people to lie flat because they're having a hard time finding good paying
Oh,
jobs, or they're being fired from jobs, and so
right.
they're just doing whatever they can at the bare minimum just to get by. Because I mean, I guess going back to the earlier article of the child free ruining China's future, I don't know, but like China today and China tomorrow are basically going to be relatively the
Right.
same. I think we could all
Right.
agree to that. But anyway, so the 33-year-old woman, surnamed Chen, and her 43-year-old husband live in Shanghai, where Chen previously had a job as a game designer and her husband worked in real estate. They both lost their jobs, here we go, last year, and after several months of unsuccessful job hunting, decided to leave the workforce and live off their 3 million yen, which is approximately 43,000 US dollars in savings. The couple do not plan to have children and said that their 2 pet cats are their only dependents. Okay. The report said they don't worry about their elderly parents as they receive government pensions and are covered by the public medical insurance scheme. Okay.
They use the term scheme a lot in the UK as well. It's not
Okay.
what it means to us in North America, because scheme is
Yeah.
always like a bad thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, sneaky
Yeah, so
scheme.
it's
It's
I
scheming.
learned that the hard. I'm like, what are they talking about? But the term means something different in that context in other places. So
Yeah.
just to clarify for anyone else that doesn't know that.
So Chen and her husband own a flat in the city, have a car, and no debt. So there's like the key, like no debt. Yeah,
Right.
you can probably lay flat a heck of a lot easier. They receive about 10,000. Is it won or yen? Yen's Japanese. This is won.
I'm
Correct
gonna
me in the
agree with
comments. I
you.
think it's won.
Yeah.
I said yen earlier. That's Japan. So about 1,400 bucks USD in monthly income from the interest on their bank savings. So they make about 1,500 bucks a month with no debt. Yeah, they can probably do nothing as long as they remain healthy. But if they have a great health system in place, or
Yeah.
whatever, I guess we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple have adapted to the new laying flat lifestyle by eating all of their meals at home, not going to restaurants, and have reduced all non-essential spending to only spending around 6,000 won. I'm just gonna say won if it's right or not. I'm sorry, a month. Chen
That's
said
less. Okay, so that's
yeah,
less than their income.
yeah, they
Would have been.
estimate their savings will be enough to support them for 30 years. Wait, does that math work out? Oh yeah, I guess it does.
Yeah, yeah,
They have like 3 million of those things. All right.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Hey, here we go. Sorry, I'm being like $6,000. No, it's not dollars.
No, 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 no.
So in quotations, I'm not a person who likes large responsibilities, so I don't want to have a kid. I just want to eat, drink, have fun, and enjoy life. Chen says. Cheers to you, Chen.
Yeah.
After changing to Tangping, which is laying flat, my nerves that were strained before having have completely relaxed. I don't get woken up by the alarm clock. I don't worry about any text messages from clients or my boss. She added, I sleep in until I wake up naturally every day. I allocate my time freely. My body and my soul have been freed. So, um, let's see if I can scroll ahead on this. Any thoughts on lying
Oh,
flat,
tons.
having learned about it?
No, I mean, it's kind of what I've done the last several years.
You're laying flat in
It,
Canada.
inadvertently. I mean, kind of. Um,
Okay, just to jump in real quick. So yeah, this I just saw this one. So the laying flat movement has gained in popularity among China's younger generation in recent years, as many have become jaded with the constant struggle to deal with the pressure of China's intensely competitive education and workplace cultures. So
well,
yeah, that's
I mean, I think it's fantastic. Okay, what I did really want to comment was about the 30-year thing, because and this I will say from also from personal experience over the last 6 years, my life was not intentionally going to go this direction, But what happened was when I purposely chose a chunk of time where I didn't have to do anything. Like I could just kind of do whatever I wanted. And what happened is it led me to realizing I wanted to blog about being child free, which has since spawned into all of the things that are happening now. So they're, to them, and anyone reading this who's going, oh, well, that's so lazy, they're projecting a 30-year thing. But when your mind is free from all that freaking stress, you can get a lot of really cool creative ideas and find a new career or find something that feeds your soul, that generates income or whatever it is that you need. Like, it doesn't even have to be about money, but like, it frees you up for a lot of really cool adventures that you wouldn't have otherwise when you're focused, not even with the kid thing, but when you're focused on a career and a job and you're stressed all the time. Like, it blocks you. And I will say that from personal experience. It freed me up so much. So I think it's fantastic because I don't think, because it sounds like one of them's super creative. If they're working in gaming industry, they have time to figure out what suits them even more so, which is probably going to lead to really cool careers that they never even thought of.
Yeah. Well,
If they want to call it a career, right?
Yeah, I mean, if she's in game design, she might want to just literally, maybe she can make her own game that she loves, and and if she makes money doing it, great. If not, it's a passion project, but she has the ability to do that now. So
yeah, I think for me, I'm defensive of people having these experiences because people, they're going to project their own thoughts and fears of like, while you were being lazy, you're going to do this without realizing that it actually frees you up a lot when you have, regardless if you have 6 months to do it or a year from that. No, whatever time you have, like, enjoy it, because when you do feel that free, a lot of things move in your favor in life. So I applaud them personally.
Yeah. And so, kind of leapfrogging off what you were just talking about. So some people ask us, in quotes, what about when you're 70 years old? So that seems like, here comes the fear of what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So her answer is that we'll look at that when we reach 70. Okay, that's novel. Be happy in the moment. If I will live a hard life as a result, then that's my choice. And I mean,
what do you think? What do you think about that? Because I believe that, because when I think of any time that, I mean, life is always up and down. And any time there's been a moment of hardship, and it doesn't even have to be financially, but just life is hitting you, you do deal with it, and then it moves on.
mhm,
Yeah.
Like,
You think of, like, whether you're going through an illness or you break something, you find like you find yourself in really uncomfortable situations.
yeah. I mean,
We all do go through something that we either probably don't want to relive, but we're like, well, we went through it, and no one has the answers because we don't really know. None of us know what's going to happen even tomorrow.
To me, the question being phrased is, what about when you're 7 years old, is the wrong question that person should be asking Chen. It should be asking, how did you come to such a peaceful state of mind? Because
right,
we're in such a rat race, work until you die, like, culture. And in China, it sounds like it's to the nth degree. So to me, that's the question it should ask is, how can I think more like you, Chen? Like, they don't have to lay flat themselves, but it's like, how can I come to that peace to realize that what I'm doing is good enough? I don't have to, go into debt and buy things I don't need. And yeah, I mean,
but doesn't that tell you then that we're
reach out to us?
Yeah, but doesn't that tell you that we're so programmed to, like, have a fear-based response when we hear something that we don't understand yet, or that goes against everything we've ever been taught? Like, because that's such a fearful reaction.
Yeah.
Which I get it. I mean, that's considered a normal response. What you suggested, which is so much better for everybody involved, is not a normal response, but I think it should be a normal response.
Yeah.
I feel like I just had a therapy session. Thank you for that. That's a good time.
The person who says, well, what are you going to do when you're 7 years old? Like my wife and I, we try to live below our means as well. And just naturally, we don't feel inclined to spend money. Like, I don't need to go get a new car or the newest iPhone. I'm not an early adopter with technology, so I don't care. that's the mindset that I've just always had my whole life. I don't know how I got there, but we have a hard time spending money, and not saying like, oh, we're like, mounds of money everywhere, but we don't feel the need to buy something. And someone once told us that we have a working class mentality, and we didn't know what that meant until they kind of explained it. It means you feel like you always need to work and save money. Save money to spend money. It's like you have to have something that you have to always work. And so to me, that question of what about when you're 70 years old, that person has that working class mentality of, I have to work. Like, I'm going to be 70
Right.
one day. I've got a plan for that. Whereas Chen's like seeing the Matrix and like dodging
Right.
the troubles of the world. So yeah. All right, so let's see. Another person said, I am 43 years old, the same age as her husband. My kid is 2 years old. Looking at my own life, I came to understand their attitude. Tang Ping is a pretty good way to live. Okay. Let's see. Try to scroll a little bit. We're at the hour mark. Do we want to do some bonus?
Actually, I think this is a good article to end on, quite honestly.
Okay. That's cool. We'll do that. So,
but I mean, we can. I mean,
no.
I find this such a fascinating. This is almost more we need to incorporate Dr. J in, because this could have been like a whole hour with finance talk and stuff.
So Dr. J, if you're out there, Dr. J Zigman of childfreewealth.com, how can people lay flat in their country of origin or where they live or whatever?
I think like that like, just to wrap up that article, I think it's a really good way of highlighting like options. And not again, like we've talked before, not every child-free person will have that option, but I just think it's just looking at the variety of ways people can live life without kids. I think is really good to highlight. And obviously there's a massive shift in mentality in humanity in general, and I'm excited to see that, because people are again starting to think for themselves. And that's a culture again where it's, well, you're responsible for older generations and all that good stuff. Like there's it's interesting. It's making people think. So good for them.
We live in an interesting time right now. Like,
we do.
Some people look at like, oh, technology, go to Mars, like whatever. But like the I don't like saying it's a movement. To me, being child free isn't a movement, because we're not trying to convince people to be child free, but it is a movement in the sense where we're trying to gain just acceptance and understanding in the overall society of the world. And so it's interesting to see like those waves like crashing together of like pronatalism and child free. So
there's it's to anyone that wants us to shut up, it's only gonna get worse, because there's so many people are talking about it, and it's just growing, talking about this choice, and also highlighting pronatalism, how it's actually a thing. Yeah, it's exciting. But that article is really making me think about a lot of things. I can't say I'm lying flat, because I'm so ambitious. Like, I like to build things, and so I can't say that I'm not in a. I think for a year I laid flat in sort of thing. But I'll always be an ambitious person and I like to buy things. So I mean, not at a hoarder mentality, but I enjoy things.
So, LeNora, how can people find us? We'll wrap this episode
like, what are
up.
we doing? I feel it's weird, because we've been self-directing today. Right. Couple things. I gotta get better at this wrap up. So we have a newsletter, a weekly newsletter. You can go to childfreemedia.com and subscribe to the newsletter, and you will get all the latest in child-free podcasts. That's not just the Child-Free Media podcast, but all the other current active podcasts out there that produce child-free content. You will get the weekly episodes to your inbox. Any events, virtual or meetups that are happening around the globe, you will get that news as well. Any not articles, but any content, pieces of content that child-free people have written, you will find that it's kind of like everything that's happening in the child-free space will be directly to your inbox every week. So sign up for that. You can find us at Childfree Media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yes.
all,
Plug those 3 for now.
all the important ones.
All the ones. And I feel like there's something we're supposed to say, but
Well, if there are any child-free content creators out there, if we're not already promoting you, let us know when you release blogs, podcasts, web series, whatever it is. And like LeNora said, we're happy to promote you. It's free. What we put out is free. It's there for the enjoyment of everyone.
Which also reminds me, so our email address, you can send anything that you want us to publicize, or if you want to get in touch with us we can help you get started with your ideas, childfreemedia@gmail.com. And that's what I was going to say. We have a publication out now. So it's on Medium, Childfree Media. You can create your own blog there, all that good stuff. You'll be able to find those details on our website as well. So if you've heard anything of interest and you want more clarification, please email us at childfreemedia@gmail.com and we will get you started. So
sounds awesome. Do it.
Right. All right.
All right.
We're good.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.